Well, happy Tuesday. That means it's time for this week's video. Get ready. Okay, let's talk about a scenario that all of us who have spent some time in Christianity, where we have heard this statement before. Yes, God is a loving God, but God is also a just God. Now, when do people make that statement? They make that statement usually after somebody is talking about how God couldn't possibly send a certain person to hell. And then the person says yes, because God's a loving God. And the person who says yes, but God's a loving God, but he is a just God, they're talking about how, because in their judgment, they believe that a person would not go to heaven just because God's a loving God if that person has not repented of their sins, has not asked for forgiveness of their sins, has not believed in Jesus, has not accepted Jesus. Then God has no alternative. Because he's a just God, he must damn them to eternal punishment forever and ever and ever. And the person saying this is not even thinking about what eternity would be. We may live on this earth 80 years, and that is nothing. That is like a blink of an eye. Solomon called it a vapor. Compared to eternity, it's absolutely nothing. Yet God would punish somebody for all of eternity because of that. So, not even thinking that. They are saying that because of what their doctrine says about you must believe, and you must, and people are sinners, and so they've got to ask for forgiveness and all this other stuff. But here's the folly in the self-righteousness of human ideas about justice. It's barbaric. Number one. God is a loving God. True. God is also a just God. But God's level of justice is far above the idea of justice that comes from the self-righteous religious mind. And I'll even tell you about that. In the Psalms, it was in Psalm 89, and it's verse 14. And it says, "Justice and judgment are the habitation of thy throne. Mercy and truth shall go before thy face." Yes, it's talking about the justice of God, but mercy and truth shall go before his face. He will proceed with mercy and truth. See, God's justice is always led by mercy. Always led by mercy. Yes, Jesus talked about the believer and the requirement to believe. But even in those Gospels, the disciples observed that no one believed. No one. And Paul said in his letter to the Romans that no one believed. So, Jesus said that now is the judgment of this world. God judged the world at the cross. What did he conclude in his judgment? According to Paul, God concluded all to be in unbelief so that he could have mercy upon all. Everyone. That's God's justice. Whether they believe or not, whether they repent or not, whether they accept or not, God's justice was mercy upon all, because no one believed. See, the requirement to believe was so high that anybody who thought they believed really didn't believe. The only believer, the only one who had faith, as Paul said, we are saved by the faith of God, by the faith of Christ, of God. It was all his doing. It was all his believing. It was all his faith. God, our part was only to receive mercy. And we did. We all did. The whole human race received mercy. There is no one going to spend eternity in punishment. It's not going to happen. That was taken care of 2,000 years ago at the cross. It's revolutionary. I know. Have a revolutionary week.